I'm glad to see you all here. I'm very happy to know that so many people are interested in research, because I've heard that research is about to die, so we have a full room here. The usability tests we use daily are said to be a qualitative method, or the worst method. Our stakeholders would prefer to see some numbers, something that they can invest their millions in. Is it true? Not necessarily. I think that if you're here, you are researchers and you work in product design and UX design, and you know that qualitative and quantitative methods need to go together to answer the questions what's going on. So quantitative as well as why something is happening. So qualitative. So we're going to talk about what usability is, how we should understand it, about actual testing, about how we can streamline the tests in 3 different ways. One of the ways is mixing qualitative and qualitative methods using matrix methods and RITE, my favorite method. A little disclaimer. This is a power talk. I only have 20 minutes to convince you to streamline testing, but I would like you to have a presentation later on that you can look it up. So the slides are pretty text heavy, but I'm going to make this presentation available to you. At the end, you'll get a QR code, you can download it. So what is usability testing? It's worth understanding that it's about making users perform tasks safely, efficiently, and effectively. And by the way, they should be happy about using the product. So right now we only focus to make things efficient, and we want users to be able to click through the product to use it, but we forget about 2 other aspects: that it should be safe, meaning that the user's data should be safe and everything that is going on in the application should be safe, and it should be enjoyable. And we can talk about the joy coming from realization of a task, but also joy coming from the fact that it's a little emotional delight that you as researchers can add to the solutions we build. So we have several factors of usability. First, we should make it easy for users to learn. So the first-time user can learn enough so that at the second go they can easily reproduce all the steps. Efficiency, of course, we should not make users to click through things without any reason, just because marketing wanted to add some banner or some presentation or whatever. We should not do that. We want our user to memorize and understand what he or she can do in the application, and we should keep them away from making errors. And that's what we have user testing for. And another factor is satisfaction. Classic usability testing started from 60 users. What we do right now in big, serious corporations and banks is discounted usability testing, because we understood at a certain point that in order to get certain results, we don't need 60 or 70 target users. It's enough to have 6, 10, 16, and we will come out with the same results, or at least in about 80%. So what we do now is discounted usability testing, but we also have the RITE method that I will elaborate later on. But it's a method that was built upon certain observations where we tested usability on 60 users, and then we understood we can have less users in tests, and now we know that we can have just as many users, but we can change the methods and make a prototype corrected during the test. So we don't wait for a report. We don't wait until stakeholders read the reports. You don't need a fancy presentation for a president of the company. You actually work on a prototype that goes to the development, because in the RITE process, there are researchers, product owners, product managers, developers, and business. I think you are all acquainted with classic usability tests. So we have a workshop where we have and then testing session with users, most often 5-15 people from the target group, and then we have data analysis conducted by researchers, and then as a result there's a report. And if we are lucky, whatever you recommended in the report goes to the development team. Usability tests are described in detail here. I'm going to go very quickly through this because it's not my point to talk about usability testing as such, but I think it's worth talking about how to do it properly. You have access here to the scenario of a workshop based on EG Mościechowska's and my experience from running workshops with stakeholders. You will find all the things you should account for when making a plan of usability testing, no matter if it's RITE or classic usability testing or other research. Of course, creating reports is a part of the whole process, but also encouraging people who work with you to participate. And how you can improve the tests, just invite more people to usability tests. Don't give it away to the external agency where people only read the report. Invite business stakeholders so that they can take notes or create notes for them and let them participate. When we say that we are user-centered designers, when we say that we put a user in the center of our interest and that users are who we create solutions for, what do we actually mean? That we do usability testing and read reports? No. We want to say we are user-centered design because we meet once or twice a week with users, or we read feedback, or participate in IDIs and observe users. We actually talk to users, listen to them, we conduct a continuous conversation with users. But right now it's not so obvious, so I really encourage you to do that. I know it's not easy. You sometimes have a lot of people behind your back watching you do the testing, but it's really worth your effort. So, about reporting. Visual reporting are a good solution. Sometimes we create an Excel, we feed in certain data and somebody reads this, but remember that if you visualize data, you show how many tasks were successful, what was problematic, and this big amount of red is a great indicator for your stakeholders that something's wrong and maybe it's worth stopping the development for a while and correcting whatever is not working. So what can you do to improve usability testing? I'm sure you know this graph. Everyone who's interested in research know this more or less. We have qualitative and quantitative research. We can use these methods together even in one research. In one research, you can do IDI and card sorting and add a survey. Is it worth doing it each time? No. You have to think what value it will give you, what you will get from the methods you employ. Because each time you run research, you need to make a certain decision. You need to know if this solution is something that your users expect and your stakeholders expect. I hope some of you remember my last year's presentation. When you design something, it's always on 3 different layers: business, user layer, because you are a user's advocate, and then the technological layer, because you always need to take into consideration certain limitations and opportunities that technology gives you. So you need to make a decision, and to do that you need data. We should not make decisions based on your convictions. You need 2 approaches. First, you need to understand how big the effect is, or how many, and why something is happening. But you can do the research separately, but you can do it together also. So here are the slides that are for you to read after the conference, but I would like to tell you that each method has its pros and cons, and very often these advantages are amplified, but disadvantages can help you level things up and eliminate certain negative aspects of both kinds of research. So you can combine observations and IDIs and card sorting, and the whole research plan can be a mix of these methods. Okay, so we can have a great process of usability testing. We can think about how to do it properly. We can mix qualitative and quantitative methods and get this additional effect of streamlining the tests. What else? Metrics. Each time we prepare design, we want 2 things: make certain decisions that I've mentioned before, and we also want to introduce a certain change in user behavior. We want them to use our solution and not the solution they used until this point, or if sometimes there was no solution whatsoever. So we want to change their way of thinking and their behavior. So when we conduct research, we need to make sure we've actually achieved that we didn't create eye candy design, but a design that actually works. And that's what we have metrics for. We measure how many users we have, how much time they spend on a task, if they use search or navigation. We try to understand and get a snapshot of reality. Then we do research and improve design, and this is how we make progress. We see if our intervention in design or research actually made some change. And metrics can be usability matrix, which is, for example, the metrics can be also very business-wise, like unique visitors and returning visitors. What is very important for business, and business would like to talk about it with you in their own language. For them, our language is just difficult to understand, and we find it difficult to understand them, so we need translation. And I think that researchers and designers are the translators in this reality. And creme de la creme, RITE research, how is it different from usability testing? We shorten time to market, so we deliver results quicker, we reduce the risk. This is something that business reacts to very nicely. We can distribute knowledge because finally it's not closed in our report. You don't need to worry how to democratize knowledge in organization because it will naturally become a part of what's going on in the organization and what is being talked about. We have user-centered design, and we can support continuous development and continuous discovery, which is something we all dream about. So classic usability tests, we have a group of users. We run the tests and introduce improvements. But in RITE, things are a little different. Okay, we have 15 users as well, but we split them into 3 groups, like 5 people, and between these people, we test them, we listen what's wrong with our prototype, and everybody is listening to this, designers, developers, other researchers, and business stakeholders. We listen to this together. After each session, we have a workshop where we make decisions about what needs to be changed, and we build a new prototype. And the new prototype is tested with the second 5-person group. And this process makes it possible to make decisions during research. You don't wait for the report or for feedback from stakeholders, because this is what you get during the research, and you can apply the results very quickly to the solution, to the product you're creating. And actually we do things like we used to do. We have a research workshop and then the testing session. It's just that we all participate in it. And then co-designing, participatory workshop. We actually have a workshop about participatory design here. So we repeat it 3 times and then we get to the development much quicker. In classic usability tests, we have 1 session, the report, and then we wait a long time to introduce changes. In RITE, you have 3 sessions, distributed knowledge, team effort. So we all work on this, and logistics, which is very difficult because you need 3 sessions than 1. So it makes things a little bit more difficult for a researcher. But why is it worth improving usability testing? Because we want your observations to get to the market, to the products, not to the organization's president drawer, because your effort should be the effort that is appreciated in the organization, and this is the method for your effort to be appreciated and noticed. Of course, as designers, we should aim at perfection that we'll never achieve, so we need to improve our research methods and avoid bias. In a minute, you will hear a lot about bias from Joanna. I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting presentation. And you will also understand the impact of your work on the organization, on the user, and on the product you create. Here are some links for you if you need to read more about this topic. I'm available here all day if you want to ask about anything. And of course, here's the presentation I promised. If you feel like downloading it, here's the QR code for you. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to come here for you and tell you about usability testing. I hope that you'll be able to implement some of this in your organizations. Thank you.